Everyone is waiting for a bombshell from Buckingham Palace, a major statement from King Charles that will finally settle the future of Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. But the most important statement about these two children is not some announcement still to come. It is already here, published on the Crown's own official website, maintained by the royal household itself.
The King and Queen have hosted the Duke and Duchess of Sussex with Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, their children, at Highgrove House this afternoon.
And almost nobody has actually read it. Two kids growing up in Montecito, California, thousands of miles from any throne, still sit in positions that quietly contradict nearly every headline written about them. And once you understand what that record really says, you will never read a royal bombshell the same way again. The quiet facts. Let me tell you who these two children actually are, because the noise has buried something simple. Prince Archie was born in May 2019. Princess Lilibet was born in June 2021. Their father is Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. Their mother is Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. And they are growing up in Montecito, California, about as far from a palace balcony as a royal grandchild can physically get. Now, you already know the outline of what happened next. The Sussexes stepped back from official royal duties in early 2020 after a tense stretch of family conversations about what their new life would even look like. They gave the interviews, they built a world abroad, they walked away from the working roles entirely, and somewhere in all those years of headlines, a story hardened in the public mind that Archie and Lilibet had been cut loose from the institution completely, erased, left with no formal tie to the crown at all. I need you to hold on to that assumption for a second, because almost everyone shares it, and almost everyone is about to find out it is wrong. The real picture is quieter than the rumors and somehow far stranger. So, before we touch a single dramatic claim, let me show you the one document that quietly contradicts all of them. 6th and 7th. Pull up that official list with me, line by line, because this is where the whole illusion starts to crack. Right at the top sits Prince William, the Prince of Wales. Behind him, his three children in the order they were born, Prince George, then Princess Charlotte, then Prince Louis. 5th comes Prince Harry, and then, directly behind his father, in 6th place, Prince Archie. And directly behind him, his little sister, Princess Lilibet, 7th. This is not some archived screenshot from years ago. This is the sequence the royal family publishes and maintains itself, right now, tonight. Two kids being raised as ordinary Californians, 6th and 7th in line to the British throne. And I already know the question forming in your head, because it is the right one. If they live an ocean away, if they do nothing royal at all, how on earth are they still sitting there? The answer is that this list was never a measure of who is loved or who shows up, or who a grandfather sees at Christmas. It is a legal order built on descent and centuries of hard statute, and it does not care about geography one bit. There is one small detail in that order I want to flag, because it explains Lilibet's exact spot. For most of British history, a younger brother leapt ahead of his older sister in the line. That rule died for anyone born after October 2011. Lilibet arrived in 2021, well after the change, which is the only reason she follows her brother in plain birth order, instead of being shoved down behind him. Even her 7th place is a product of law, not of any decision anyone ever made about her. So if the law is this rigid, this indifferent to distance, then the obvious next question is the dangerous one. Could a king simply reach in and override it? Hold that thought, because before we get anywhere near it, you have to see just how far these two children really are from the throne they supposedly threaten. An ocean away. Look at the gap between the paper and the life. On the list, Archie and Lilibet are practically breathing down the line of succession's neck. In reality, they could hardly be further from it. They attend no royal engagements. They are not being raised inside the British establishment. They carry out no duties, and there is no plan, no expectation, no quiet preparation for either of them to ever serve the crown. Their days are American schools, American friends, a private childhood their parents have fought, hard and publicly, to protect. In every way that actually matters, they already live entirely outside the working monarchy. And the odds of either of them ever wearing the crown, vanishingly, almost comically small. For Archie to become king, an entire branch of the family ahead of him would have to fall away. His uncle, 3 cousins, his own father. For Lilibet, longer still. Their place in the line is real in law, but it is a formality, a position, not a destiny anyone is planning around. Which is exactly what makes the endless bombshell stories so strange. There is no crisis here to solve. Nothing is on fire. There are only two names sitting in an ancient sequence, far from where real power ever moves. So, why does the internet keep insisting, week after week, that some dramatic decision has torn them out of it? If you find these hidden corners of royal history as fascinating as I do, take a second and subscribe, because this channel exists for exactly this. Pulling apart what is actually true about the royal family from the wall of noise built around them. Now, let me show you where that noise is manufactured, because once you see the machine, you cannot unsee it. Where the myth begins. There is a truth the rumor mill never mentions about itself. The stories claiming Archie and Lilibet were stripped from the succession did not come from Buckingham Palace. They did not come from any court correspondent with a real source. They come from an ecosystem of content farms and sensational channels that manufacture a fresh royal earthquake almost every single day. And they all run the same script: a thundering headline announcing a decision, a thumbnail with a grim-faced king and two tiny children, then a video narrating private meetings, sealed documents, whispered confrontations, none of which any journalist witnessed and no palace ever confirmed. The scene sounds specific. Specific feels true. But detail invented out of thin air is not evidence, no matter how confidently a narrator delivers it. The genuine record is almost boringly undramatic by comparison. A numbered list on an official site, a handful of centuries-old statutes, a slow legal process shared across more than a dozen countries. That version does not sell a click, which is precisely why the fake one keeps winning your attention. But there is one piece of this story that did genuinely change. One real shift the rumors love to twist into something it never was. And to understand it, we have to go back to a single decree signed more than 100 years ago. The title's Tangle. Stay with me, because this is the part almost everyone gets tangled in. It is about their titles, and it is constantly mistaken for the succession itself. When Harry and Meghan first stepped back, the royal family's own website listed the two children not as Prince and Princess, but as Master Archie and Miss Lilibet, the plain styles used for kids with no royal title. And the internet lost its mind. Surely this was the proof, the evidence that something had been taken, that the palace was quietly holding these children at arm's length. But the rule underneath is older than the drama by a full century. Back in 1917, King George V issued a decree setting out exactly who gets to be called Prince and Princess, granting those styles to the grandchildren of the monarch in the male line. So, when Queen Elizabeth II died and Charles became king, something quiet but decisive happened. Archie and Lilibet became the grandchildren of a reigning sovereign, and in that instant, they qualified for those titles by right. The official record caught up, and today the royal website lists them plainly as Prince Archie of Sussex and Princess Lilibet of Sussex. Now, hold on, because the distinction here is everything. Titles and succession are two completely separate things. The whole website war over master versus prince was about styling, about recognition, about a single word. It never once touched their place in the line. Through every headline, Archie stayed 6th and Lilibet stayed 7th. The fight that made headlines was about a word. So, if a change this visible, this bitterly fought over, still could not move them even one place, then the real question sharpens into something almost uncomfortable. What would it actually take? Could anyone, even a king, reach into that list and pull two names out? How succession changes. This is where nearly every dramatic royal story quietly collapses, and I want to walk you right up to the edge so you can watch it happen. These videos all imagine the crown as something a monarch rewrites with a single stroke of a pen, alone at a desk. It simply does not work that way. It never has. The line of succession is governed by law, not by royal mood. Its bedrock is the Bill of Rights of 1689 and the Act of Settlement of 1701, statutes that lock the throne to the legitimate Protestant descendants of one specific woman, Sophia of Hanover, in a fixed and defined order. A king can no more personally delete a name from that order than a prime minister could personally rewrite the tax code between his tea and his toast. Changing the line takes an act of parliament. And because the British monarch is also head of state across 14 other Commonwealth realms, from Canada to Australia to New Zealand, changing the succession means every single one of them has to agree. Not most of them. All of them. This is not some hypothetical I am inventing to sound clever. It is exactly what unfolded the last time the rules shifted, when the realms agreed in 2011 to finally scrap the old rule that put younger brothers ahead of their sisters. Canada, Australia, New Zealand, all of them moving together. That one reform took coordinated legislation across multiple countries and years to actually take hold. Years. For a change everyone already agreed was fair. So the machine that can remove a person from the succession does exist. It is real, but it is slow, it is international, and it has never in modern memory been aimed at a small child for the crime of living abroad. And yet, right now, that very machine is grinding into motion against someone in the royal family, just not the two people you have been told to watch. The real storm? Let me take you to where the actual storm is breaking, because it is real, it is documented, and it is happening to a completely different person. His name is Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the king's own brother, and he sits 8th in line, one single place behind Archie and Lilibet. Watch the sequence as it actually played out, in public, on the record. In October 2025, most of Andrew's remaining titles and honors were stripped away. He held on to the Duke of York title in name only, and even that was scrubbed from the official roll of the peerage. Then, in early 2026, it escalated hard. Following his arrest, a minister rose in the House of Commons and told the country the government was not ruling out action on his place in the line of succession. Across party lines, senior politicians signaled they would back legislation to strip him of his right to succeed. And the governments of Canada, Australia, and New Zealand indicated they would support it too. That, right there, is what a genuine move against someone's place in the succession looks like. Slow, public, legislative, international. It plays out under the lights of Parliament and across Commonwealth capitals, not in some invented midnight meeting behind a palace door. Think about how visible every step of it was. Not a rumor, not a leaked whisper, but a minister answering questions on the floor of the Commons while the whole country watched. Titles removed one autumn, and arrests the following winter. Politicians from opposing parties, who agree on almost nothing, lining up behind the same idea. Foreign governments weighing in from the other side of the world. Every stage of it, printed, broadcast, debated, and dated. That is the paper trail a real succession fight leaves behind, thick and public and impossible to miss. Now, compare it to the supposed removal of 2 children, which left no bill, no debate, no vote, no trace anywhere at all except a thumbnail. And I want you to sit with the contrast for just a moment. The one person the real machinery is actually edging toward is not a child in California. It took an arrest, a common statement, and multiple national governments simply to begin. So set that beside 2 kids whose only offense is a zip code, and ask yourself, honestly, does the bombshell version even make sense anymore? What would it take? So let us actually run it. Suppose someone genuinely seriously wanted Archie and Lilibet gone from the line of succession. Walk the steps with me. You would need a government willing to draft the legislation. You would need a parliament willing to pass it. You would need 14 other countries, each with its own politics and its own parliament, to everyone. Of them agree. And you would need a real, defensible constitutional reason to single out 2 young children whose entire crime is being born into one family and then moving away with their parents. Not one of those things exists. There is no bill. There is no campaign. There is no serious argument anywhere that the children of a sitting prince should be cut out simply because they live in Montecito. The distance between that California town and the throne is vast in every human sense. And in law, it means precisely nothing. What will actually happen to their numbers is far quieter and almost gentle. Every time a child is born higher up the line, everyone below slides down a single place. Over the years, Archie and Lilibet will very likely drift lower, not from any decree, not as punishment, but simply because the family above them grows. That is how this list has always rearranged itself across the centuries, through births, not banishments. And honestly, no government on earth would drag 14 nations through a constitutional rewrite just to make a symbolic point about 2 children who already live completely private lives. The effort would be enormous, the risk real, the reward nothing. So, if the law will not touch them and no one is even trying, Then what exactly is Charles doing with this slimmed-down monarchy everyone keeps mentioning? A slimmer crown. Now, here is the reasonable debate hiding underneath all the nonsense, the real one, the one that actually deserves your attention. For years, King Charles has been widely reported to want a slimmed-down monarchy, a tighter core of working royals doing the official duties, instead of a sprawling cast of relatives. That is a real vision, and it is worth taking seriously. But listen closely, because this is exactly where people blur two very different things. A slimmed-down working monarchy is about who represents the crown in public, who stands on the balcony, who cuts the ribbons and shakes the hands. The legal line of succession is about who is hereditarily eligible to inherit, written into centuries of statute. Charles can shape the first through his own choices about who works as a royal. He cannot simply redraw the second because he might prefer it. And when you really look, something quietly remarkable comes into focus. Archie and Lilibet already sit outside the working monarchy. No duties, no public role. So, the very thing people picture as some looming, dramatic future decision has, in practice, already happened, calmly, with no announcement and no controversy at all. They are royal by birth and by title, and completely private in daily life, both at once, right now. Which brings us finally back to that official list, still glowing on the screen, and to the real statement it has been making this entire time, the one no headline ever bothered to read out loud. 2 children. So here is the truth, the actual breaking statement. And it is almost the perfect opposite of everything the headlines promised. Nothing was taken from them. No decree removed them. No constitutional storm swept them aside. Archie and Lilibet remain 6th and 7th in line to the British throne, exactly where the law places them, even as they grow up as ordinary children an ocean away. What makes their situation genuinely extraordinary is not some dramatic decision. It is a quiet contradiction the monarchy has simply lived with for years. 2 children can hold a place near the very top of the succession, while having no working bond with the institution behind it at all, close to the crown on paper, free of it in life. And unless Parliament and 14 countries ever decide otherwise, both of those things stay true. Their futures in the end are wider open than any list suggests. They can grow up and embrace a connection to Britain or set it aside entirely. The line names them. It does not define them. It never really could. So now I want to hear from you, and I mean actually hear from you. Do you think Archie and Lilibet should stay in the line of succession as they grow up in America? Or should the rules finally change to match the lives they really live? Tell me exactly where you land in the comments. And if this untangled something you had seen, twisted into a headline, subscribe so the next royal rumor never gets the chance to fool you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.